Hello, Pastor Deborah here, and this is Agape Love. Love is here. This is one of the many video sections of the ministry of Pastor Deborah, helping people the Lord's way. Please enjoy the video, and we look forward to you coming again. Pastor Deborah hopes you enjoy hearing about how she has learned how to help people the Lord's way, and of her many wonderful spiritual experiences throughout many, many years of helping people. Welcome again to a video of Agape Love, Love is Here Ministries. This is Pastor Deborah. Love always and forever.
Hello again, Pastor Deborah here. And this is class number 8 of MasterClass initiative of Nigeria. This is leadership development. I am so glad and honored and privileged to be asked to be your teacher from your wonderful founder. I never can say his name, but I'm going to put his name on a hashtag in the description of this video. Nigeria is a wonderful country, needs a lot of help, and I hope you who are watching will be able to help it, as well as those who are from Yemen. Yes, I see you in Yemen, and in Gaza, the Palestinians, and those in Libya. I know your long history, Libya, all the way back to the Romans, back before that. And yet people still keep trying to steal your resources, like Turkey taking your oil. It's not theirs. It's for you and your country and your people. Oh, and I see you in Algeria and Morocco. I have a connection to Morocco. Oh, yes, in my other life, I met a wonderful young man who was working on a cruise ship. He was from Morocco. We wrote letters back and forth. He invited me to come to Morocco. Sweet, sweet young man. He's all grown up now, I'm sure, got family of his own. And Turkey, you are welcome here. We've got to do a lot of work in you. You used to be a mighty nation a long time ago. But you have to learn to take your place now. Excuse my computer. Makes these firewall noises so you'll hear them. But welcome all students from all nations, all faiths, all religions, who want to become leaders. I'm a different kind of teacher, as you know. I do teach skills and abilities, but I look deep. I'm going to ask you to look deep into yourself, because that's where leadership begins. Begins first in your spirit. Then it shines out to your soul that we all get to see and hear. But you could be 2 or 3 different people in your soul. You could have secret plans and lie to us from your soul. I'm going to put a thing up there. I want you to go watch my Mental Health and the Forever Person series. Talks a lot about us as creatures. Our 3-part system of spirit, soul, and physical body. Also going to put on some other areas called Kingdom series, so you can learn. That's what leadership is about. Now my Java needs an update. Just ignore the sounds. But today, in class number 8, I'm going to address a new title. Can you see it on my board back there? Why are leaders needed? If you don't know why you are needed as a leader, then what's the purpose of leading? So we're going to just ask ourselves and each other a lot of questions today about why are leaders needed. As you know me, I always like to start off with some words of wisdom. I just happen to take them out of the Christian Bible, which most of you by now know that is my faith that I believe in. Doesn't mean there aren't other wonderful words of wisdom that Allah could bring to you from the Quran, that Buddha has, or Confucius has. There has been many wonderful, wise people with wonderful sayings. Long histories from ancient days. I bet if we went back to the pharaohs, we could find some wise words in those scrolls of the dead, in those hieroglyphics. And I guess we just don't listen to them. 'Cause boy, are we in a mess today. As you know, we have mental health problems, suicide, substance abuse problems, corruption, which is really, I just learned again, corruption is an action that is taken to get some secret thing that you want, power and control. Corruption is just what you'll do to get it. So I also learned that all nations have issues. And all countries and nations and people are struggling. Some seem to do it a little better than others, but we're all in a mess. We all happen to be on planet Earth. Can you get that? And some nations seem to be further along, as they called more developed, and others seem way back in ancient days. So we got a lot of work to do. So hopefully this class on why leaders are needed will help provide for you some clarity, maybe some answers, maybe more questions will come up. So you will know why you are needed down here on planet Earth, in your nation, in your family, in your business, in your neighborhood, maybe just your little street, maybe just among yourself. And most important, why is a leader needed within your spirit, your soul, and your physical body? That system, that kingdom, that nation, that territory, that land. So let's begin by asking ourselves, and you can write these questions down, but first, you know me, I always like to give us those wise words. So let's go. Proverbs 25:2 out of the Christian Bible. Proverbs, as you may not know, was written by King Solomon, who was King David's son by Bathsheba. He was the wisest man, the Bible tells us, that ever lived. Don't know where he got his information from, but he searched and searched. You'll read in his second book, called Ecclesiastes, that he put his mind to searching out things and answers. But he did come to some very important conclusions. A lot of that wisdom was just vanity, had no fruit to it, didn't last. Great movie to watch to learn about that is the Odyssey by Homer. And in that, the lesson was man without God in his life, recognizing and glorifying him for directing and leading and guiding you, so it looks like you have the victory, when actually the idea came from him. Great movie to watch to learn about that. So let's get into Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of God. Even the God of this world and the God of this age. I think his name could be Allah. He does claim to be a god. Now, Buddha and Confucius don't claim to be gods. Neither does L. Ron Hubbard of Scientology. Nor do a lot of the monks or a lot of the priests. Even in Catholicism, they don't claim to be a god. They claim to be real close to him. But it is the glory of God to conceal a thing, hide it. But it's the honor of kings, that happens to be humanity, is to search out a matter. Now you may say, I'm not a king, you may not be physically, but spiritually, all human spirits, that this God that wrote this, he decreed us to be, said we were. And a king had to have territory, had to have dominion, rulership, had to be a wise and just God or king. He had to rule by justice and righteousness. A lot to learn there. Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret things belong unto the Lord. Oh dear. There's some secret things that we are going to have to go and find out. That belong to the Lord our God. The word Lord means owner. So whoever this Lord is, he owns these secret things. But those things that belong to this Lord and God, which are revealed, they belong to us, humanity. So if you look at nature, it tells us a lot about those secret things. All the laws of gravity, fire and water. If we look at ourselves and we study through science and biology, these things are revealed to us. They belong to us. Our scientists right now are trying to study this COVID-19 that came out of bats that they found in China. AIDS came from rhesus monkeys. The bubonic plague came from the bites of fleas on rats. Swine flu comes from pigs. Malaria is a virus, comes from the bite of a mosquito. Animals carry viruses and bacteria. So right now, scientists and doctors are searching out, trying to have revealed to them the answers that are hidden about COVID-19 out of Wuhan, China. That came out of either the laboratory or the wet market, but it came from the bats. And remember, there's some lady who was studying bats. And people were paying, other nations were paying her to do research on this particular virus. I don't know why, maybe biological warfare, maybe just as a pure scientific discovery. Did you know Louis Pasteur? He discovered that there were germs and viruses causing our sicknesses. He instituted the first hand washing. Great movie to watch, black and white, about Louis Pasteur. And how he had to teach the doctors to wash their hands in between patients because they didn't know about germs and viruses. But once they're revealed to us, that information belongs to everybody. And it belongs to our children forever. You can go to all the universities and study medicine, science, Once, like when we learned how to read the hieroglyphics through the Rosetta Stone and cuneiform, all that information now belongs to every generation. Discoveries were made. Secret things that had been hidden had been revealed to us, so that we may learn and obey what they're telling us, even way back then. Did you know that when they found the stone and they were able to read it, they found Hammurabi's Code of Justice? He was one of the first ones to write down that people are deemed innocent until proven guilty. He wrote down laws for society. When we go back into the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, most of it are laws for the flesh, because man had become just a flesh creature, which meant the soul and the physical body. There was no contact, communication to a spiritual God. It had been cut off. So we were put under laws. Hammurabi tried to tell us that. We see in ancient Egypt, there was a mess down there. Floods and chaos and war. And the Egyptians needed a leader, a king, a pharaoh, to help hold that at bay and to keep peace, even in the underworld. Great movie to watch about that is The Gods of Egypt with Gerald Butler. Excellent. You'll learn a lot about their beliefs, why a king was needed, and the chaos. Another great movie to watch, I really love it, is called Doctor Strange. It's about a medical doctor that got in a car accident. Think Bert, that might not be right. Cumberland plays the doctor. And he learns about this other world, the spirit world. And he has to study. Excellent movie. I don't have it on DVD, but I'm sure you can get it. Did you know in many faiths they are trying to reach places where they live at peace inside themselves with nature, and they try so hard to get there. So these secret things, when they are revealed to us, discovered, they belong to all of us. So we could reflect them, shine them out, pass it on to our children, teach it in our schools. This image and these likenesses of things that had been covered up to us from the word of law. Once we could read the hieroglyphics, we learned about nations and their history and their spirituality and how a nation prospered. We learned about wars through the hieroglyphics and the writings, and they belong to us. So let's now get into MasterClass Initiative, class number 8, Leadership Development. Today's class is on why are leaders needed. Let's begin by just asking ourselves several questions. Who decided that a leader was needed? Did it just sort of fall from the sky? Did everybody get the same text? Were gods talking to people in ancient days? Who decided this? That a family needed a leader. That animals needed a leader. That the plant kingdom, or even in the schools of fish, or the flocks of birds, needed a leader. Who decided why were leaders needed? If there was a who, some people don't think there was a who. They sort of think it just sort of happened by chance. survival of the fittest through some theory called evolution. That somehow there really wasn't a who, what they would call a divine creator, but it just sort of happened. And things just miraculously came together in the goo. So first you might want to try to figure out, did a who decide that leaders were needed? And then try to pursue who that who was. Ooh, that was hard to say. Because that would be helpful to understand that. Back in our ancient history and days, we knew the gods were the who. And they were leading nations and people. They watched over us. They tried to help us even after death to keep our nations at peace from chaos and storms and floods. We used to throw in Hawaii, they would throw precious virgin girls to a volcano to try to stop it, to appease a god. How many of us are trying to appease a god? That's the who. To have peace, blessings, to be healed, to help our nations. So I would probably say 99.9% of humans believe in a who was the designer of why a leader was needed. Then you have to ask yourself the question, why did this who decide leaders were needed? Don't you think those are some good questions to ask yourself, to talk among yourself, to look back into history, study documentaries, study the days before Buddha came, or Confucius. Did you know in Islam, before the days of Muhammad, we had tribal gods, polygods. Each family or tribe had their ancestors. Right now, among many cultures, ancestor gods and ancestors are being lifted up as gods, the who. And they're trying to contact them and to learn what they knew, to get guidance and wisdom from their ancestors. So, if you decide that a who, not a what, decided that leaders were needed, then you have to do some research. But if you don't believe that a who did this, but maybe just a what is that what? In most scientific communities, that what is believed to be evolution. You go study Charles Darwin. You study the fights over creation by an intelligent designer, a who, versus evolution. Now, believe it or not, evolution is a theory. That means it's hasn't been proven to be true yet. I haven't found the links, but they teach it in our schools as truth. And they don't teach anything else. So they say a what? Evolution. It evolved over time somehow. Sometimes they say the survival of the fittest did it. Genes mutated. We hear that now with the COVID-19. It's sort of mutating. And that is how leaders came about, how human beings came about, how the dinosaurs disappeared. Or some event came. Maybe a comet dropped down. So you have to explore yourself what you believe, Why are leaders needed? You need to explore all your thoughts, your ancestors' beliefs. And what are your nations? Why does every nation have a government? Who decided a nation needed a government? Who decided we needed mayors or governors? Who decided that the father was the tribal leader? Was it pick of the lot? Did you throw stones in something and the black one came out or the white one came out? Who decided? And what were their reasons? So by studying our history of leaders, and we keep going back, we'll eventually get somewhere. And we'll learn that there was animals on planet Earth before there were humans. Were there leaders among the animals and the dinosaurs? What about the plant kingdom? How does a bird decide to get in front of the flock? And they make that beautiful shape by arrowhead and fly through the wind. What about the bears and the deers? Or the camels? Is there a leader among the camels? It's all worth looking at, studying. First, just kind of gather your thoughts and notes about the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the kingdom of the seas and the air, the ancient dinosaur kingdom, and study. Did a who decide that, or a what? Then I want you to just study the theory of evolution versus creative designer. Have an open mind and look at both. And then we start studying other things. So after we get those two, a who or a what, then we're going to ask ourselves a question. If a who decided that we need leaders, or we decide a what, like say evolution, decided to create a leader, defined by DNA, process, survival of the fittest, mutation of genes. That was how they decided who was to be a leader, which then would answer the why we needed a leader. You must ask a lot of questions. You must be seeking these answers, because your country's going to ask you, why do you want to lead? Who made you to be the leader? Was it by your divine birth? Your DNA? Survival of the fittest in competition, called politics? Did you know over here in America we call politics the bloodless sport? It's rough and tumble. Is that how it is in your nation? People are killed in politics. Excuse me. So we got a lot of questions, and we need a lot of answers. So in this class, why are leaders needed? First, we got to figure out if a who or a what decided that. And then why did that who or that what decide that leaders are needed? Is leadership just a byproduct of survival of the fittest? The one who's the last one standing? Who decided who was going to be the boss of the clan, the godfather of the mafia, the leader of the street gang, the madam of the brothel? Who decided that pimp was going to own those girls? Who decided, or what decided, to call somebody in to be an imam, to be the leader of Gaza, to be the military general in Libya, Was that just a what? Evolution? Time and service? Or did whose? And if it was a who, is it a who that we can see? Excuse me. Or is it one of those divine who's, a God that we can't see, but talks to us somehow? Maybe you had better prayers to that God. Maybe your family had a long history of serving the God, and you were trained from a child to be a leader. Is that why leaders are needed? Do leaders solve problems? Do leaders guide things? Do they make decisions? Do they protect? Why are leaders needed? Could our genes decide that? And if that kind of leader we had didn't work, do our genes mutate through evolution and mutation to create a different kind of leader? Does the spiritual realm, our spirit, have anything to do with why leaders are needed? Did a who or a what decide why leaders are needed for the birds? Who decided there should be a rooster with a bunch of chickens? Who decided who's going to be the head sheep or goat? Who decides who's going to be the pride, the lion's pride? Who's the male dominant there, or the female? Evolution or a who? So did a who or a what decide all these things? Did a who or a what decide why are leaders needed? Does nature need leaders? When you have a storm coming, you have a low pressure and a high pressure, who decided or what decided which would be the strongest? Who decided when it's to rain or there'll be no rain? Who decided which way the winds blow? How the earth turns? How the sun works? Is that just evolution? By chance? Or did something behind the scenes that we may not know yet? Would that be a who? A spiritual who? A God? Did they decide that? You go study Gilgamesh and some of the ancient stories, how the earth was created. Egyptian has it. About some flood. Who decided to flood the earth, or did it just flood? It's well worth your time to go study. So you must decide. If a who decided that we are to have leaders, then wouldn't it be good to get to know the who? So you can learn what that who wants you to do and do it properly. If just evolution chose that leaders were needed, then evolution will decide when you're not needed. And it will evolve and change the systems. Is that what's going on? Systems are changing from democracy to communism, to socialism, to dictatorship. Is that sort of evolution in government? Or are who's people deciding they want a different system? These are all questions a leader must be knowledgeable of and learn. Could we look back in time to find these answers? Have our civilizations before us, did they ask the same questions? Who decided was to be Pharaoh of Egypt? Or who decided who was going to be the kings of the Greek city-states? Who decided who was going to be the Roman emperor? Or in the Persian, who decided that Darius and his father were going to be king? Who decided who were going to be the kings of Saudi? Or the emperors of China? Who decided that it was time to no longer have some of these governments, but choose communism or socialism? Was that a what? Deciding that? Was that just the natural evolution of a government? Or was a God involved? Or were just people not happy with the way it was, so they decided to change it? Go watch the movie Dr. Zhivago. Excellent. It shows you that in Russia, as in most countries, everybody started with kings, emperors, empresses, pharaohs. They were all connected to gods. Ahu. But then, those kings and pharaohs, most of them were very evil and wicked and corrupt. And the people rose up. That's Ahu. They rose up. Said, we don't like that form of system. And somebody was a good communicator and said, I got a better way. Communism. We all have things in common. We all wear the same kind of clothes. We don't worship that God anymore, because he wasn't very nice to us. And those people that said they were there by divine right, we don't want that. We want to vote. And we don't even want a God in our nation, because they weren't very nice. His or her hand-picked people. So we're going to overthrow them. Look at the French Revolution. Russian Revolution, they went to Stalin, to communism. And communism means you have everything is in common union. The state owns everything, everybody owns everything together, but that didn't quite work out. Now Russia's going back to religion. They had 70 years of communism. That didn't work. So it seems like nations are changing all different kinds of, throughout their history, all different kinds of systems of leadership. Some look good, some look not good, some seem to favor the leaders over the rest. So you need to ask yourself, why are leaders needed? And go back and study our ancient civilizations. So in your studying of why leaders are needed, well, how do I know that you're needed? And if you're to be a leader, let's say of your spirit, your soul, and your physical body, why is that important? Why can't I just let my body do what it wants and feel what it wants and have all the pleasure it wants? Why do I have to control my thoughts and feelings? You know, some of those voices in there, they get very rowdy. They tell you to try to commit suicide, which is self-murder. You have a lot of self-talk going on in there. It's a busy place. I always have to work with people that have all those voices in there. We got to have family meetings inside your soul. And the one person we'd probably like to have in that, your spirit, is in a trance, sound asleep, in the darkness, doesn't have a mouth. You go learn that one about Neo in the Matrix, the first movie. When he got unplugged from the Matrix, he couldn't see or talk. He'd only been thinking, but he'd only been lied to. How do you know you hadn't been lied to? And your voices are lying to you. And your society and your ancestors have all lied to you and passed on to you their ignorance and their darkness. And you want to be a leader? Well, that may not be a good combination. So you need to know, why are leaders needed? Why do we need you? What do you have that can solve problems? change the direction or keep your nation steady on course? Can you handle pressure under crisis? Can you be bought or sold? Can you corrupt yourself to get what you want? So, have discussions among yourself and here. Take notes. Talk with other people. If you believe that a who may be a god, ancient wise people decided that leaders were needed in order to help people, then that might be a good place to start. If you believe that evolution, survival of the fittest, chance, luck, born in the right caste, born into the right family, went to the right college, had the right connections, that's sort of evolution. If you believe that is the reason why a leader is needed, then you'll have different concepts. If you believe it's a who, is it a god? Or did you just decide yourself? Or did your parents decide it for you? Was there a prophecy or a blessing said over you at your birth you don't know nothing about? Did your mama speak to you about being a leader when you were at her breast? When your father took you out and did the circumcision to make you a man, were there blessings and words said over you? Did it make a difference who your father and mother were? They would be whose. What side of the railroad tracks did you grow up in? Were you born into a caste that never, ever can rise? Does the culture, your ancient history, define who you'll be? These are all things you must look at. So let's go looking. Let's look at some words that might help you. I went and looked them up. Let's look at the word leader. I went to my Strong's Concordance to get the Hebrew term. You can look in any dictionary, and you're going to pretty much come up with the same thing. It means commander. Somebody in command. Can mean military or religious leader. Can mean honorable. A captain, a chief, an excellent thing. Can mean governor, a noble, a prince, a chief ruler. All wonderful descriptions of the word leader. In the Hebrew Bible, they also said a leader leads, and the word is leadest. And it means to drive forth, to lead, to carry away, to proceed, to guide oneself, to drive. The word leaders with the S is run with a sparkle, to flow, to conduct, to protect, to sustain, to feed, to guide, to lead gently. It also means to tread, to walk, to come to lead, to draw. It also means to guide, to transport, to bestow, to bring forth, to lead forth, to put straight. Means high in value. Means to be lifted up, to rise. How do we lead? Why are leaders needed? Does somebody need leading? Is there a system that needs leading? Does it need changing? Is that why leaders are needed? How do counselors lead you? your advisors. Why are leaders needed? To lead, of course, but lead what? What are you trying to lead? What are you trying to guide? What are you trying to? Where are you trying to go to? Are you trying to free people and lead people away from bad things? Are you trying to care for people? Is that what leaders do? Let me give you some of Webster's dictionary's definitions of leaders. To guide on a way, especially by going in advance. 2. To direct on a course or in a direction. To go through. 4. To direct the operations, activity, or performance. 5. To have charge of something. 6. To go at the head, the front. Sometimes that's the most dangerous place to be, the front. You got to take all the hits from battle. 7. To be first in something or among something. 8. To bring to some conclusion or condition. 9. To be in front of. 10. To guide someone or something along the way. 11. Leadership, vanguard, initiative. A principal role is a leader. Leadership is the office or position of a leader. It's the capacity to lead. It's the art of leading. Are we to rule people, guide them, and lead them? Yes. Does a parent, are they a leader to their child? Yes. Is there leadership in animals and cats and birds? Yes. How about in the seas and the schools? Yes. Leaders are needed, but why? Does it bring chaos if we have a leader? Does it bring order, safety, and protection? Do people feel safe when there's a leader? Is everybody meant to be a leader? Is every human designed to be a leader? Yes. But then you have to figure out what part of you, spiritual. If it is the spirit, you better be connected to a God. Have direct contact. Hear his voice or her voice. You better know them and be able to turn on a dime. Better be in prayer. Better be in a very close relationship. If your soul is to lead, then you better understand concepts and ideas and feelings and emotions and customs. Because your soul has been shaped and formed by your ancestors, your culture, the color of your skin. What university, even your birth role. Were you the firstborn? Leader. You know, in kingdoms you have to have the heir, then you must have a spare. And they are treated differently. So you have to look, if that's your soul, were you chosen by divine right, by a God, or just by evolution? Is it survival of the fittest? The meanest, the toughest, the one who can kill the most people? Is your soul the leader, full of hate or love? Do you have a lot of education in your soul, school and finance and medicine? Do you understand trade and interconnectedness to other nations? So why are leaders needed? Looks like we need them for sure. Our ancient ancestors knew we needed them. We had kings and pharaohs and Caesars. We had priests and imams. We had architects and scribes. We had schools. Leaders are needed. It doesn't matter. Maybe just you lead yourself in your own thoughts. What about inside your head? You ever hear a lot of voices going in there like you got a big family in there? Who's in charge? Some people have little kids and other people. Some people got animals. Who's in charge of all those voices? So why are leaders needed? Because either a what decided that in order for nature and humanity to improve and progress, needed leaders. Or a who decided. And they were the one who decided the why leaders are needed. So if you decide that a who was the one who decided why leaders are needed, maybe we need to look at that who and study them so we get a deep understanding of why they thought leaders were needed, what they created the leaders to do, what they wanted leaders to be, since they were the who decided that humanity and nature needed leaders. If it's just evolution and things, we need to study why would we need mutations? Why did we need survival of the fittest? Got to study it all. Because you cannot become a leader until you know all of these things. So this is class number 8 of leadership development with the MasterClass initiative of Nigeria. And I welcome again all of my students from all over the world. This is Pastor Deborah. And I'm glad you're here. Take lots of notes. And I'll see you again in class number 9. Remember, there's only going to be 12 of them for this season, this series. 12 should probably be a conclusion or wrap-up. So, enjoy, learn, and grow. And this class is why are leaders needed? Love always and forever. Pastor Deborah, and see you guys next trip, next class. MasterClass Initiative Leadership Development with Pastor Deborah of Agape Love. Love is Here Ministries, a global teleministry, spiritual teaching ministry. Love.
Thank you for listening and watching this video. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you stopped by today and watch. This is Pastor Deborah, and I hope you come again and watch many, many more videos and learn and grow spiritually and hear how she has helped people spiritually the Lord's way for many, many years. Come again, watch another one, and we welcome you to be a subscriber to the channel, to make comments, and if you wish to contact Pastor Deborah, please email her at her email address for the ministry at pastordeborah@agapeloveishere.org. You can also see these videos on Twitter and on the website in the many different sections that they are put into. Enjoy, and it was once again an honor to have you watch and listen. Thank you, and come again to another video of Agape Love, Love is Here Ministries, a ministry of helping people the Lord's way that Pastor Deborah has been doing for many, many years. Love always and forever, Pastor Deborah.